Okay, everybody. If you're listening on demand, you could hear me. If you're listening at the chat room, we have to wait a few seconds till we get the sound through, and that's what we do. So, in the meantime, I always tell you, welcome to Saturday Fantasy Baseball. You can find a podcast here 7 days a week at LennyMelnickFantasySports.com/live. You could find Lenny Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. You could find Saturday Fantasy Baseball at 9 a.m. on Saturdays. And on Sundays, we do the show together. It's Lady and the Legend at 9 a.m. So pretty much 9 a.m. every day. And if you can't come and listen live, which we recommend highly because we have a great, knowledgeable chat room that we enjoy going back and forth with, and everybody asks questions, everybody talks with each other. It's just a fun time that we've built over the years. If you can't make it live, of course, you can listen on demand, as you're doing right now. And Wednesday nights, we have the Happy Hour Social Club at 7:30 p.m. It's Taco and King Hap. They talk about all the sports, not just baseball, but of course, the 9 a.m. shows are always dedicated to baseball, and the sound is good, so let me just tell the chat room that the sound is good, and they can be included now. Also, I forgot to tell you before the sound came through is that the Happy Hour Social Club show, they have a channel on Twitch. Their handle is Happy Hour SC on Twitch, and you can find them and join in their chat room, which is a lot of fun as well. So good morning to my friends in the chat room. Good morning to Meryl, Turd, Chris Gallo, Chris from Cambridge, and I see the rest of you are flowing in, so we'll go back to the chat room in just a few minutes. But Turd brings up Heston Kierstad so far, and good grief. I mean, I saved my money on Cowser. I did bid on Colton Cowser, but I got outbid in the league, so, I wasn't willing to spend over $200 on Colton Cowser. So I said, I'm going to wait for Heston Kierstad to come up. It's not looking great for Heston Kierstad, and not just that, but we'll talk about him a little bit later. I did do some digging on it. What's going on is basically that he's looking like Jackson Holiday so far, and he's not getting at bats against lefties because he's a lefty, and we'll see what happens. But speaking of the Baltimore Orioles youngsters, you got Jackson Holiday optioned to AAA after batting .059 with 18 strikeouts in 36 plate appearances. He won't be eligible to receive enough service time for a full season unless, and it's still possible that he could, finish in the top 2 of the American League Rookie of the Year balloting. We're reminded a lot that player development is not linear. It is a bumps in the road type of growth. And if you love youngsters, you have to be willing to accept some bumps in the road, for better or worse. I mean, our favorite saying here at Lenny Melnick Fantasy Sports is, a rookie is a rookie is a rookie. And I have to admit, look, I drank the Kool-Aid. I had an opportunity to get Wyatt Langford in a dynasty league this year with the second pick overall. And I'm happy. I mean, I think there is nothing more exciting than these youngsters, right? I mean, there's just nothing more exciting in baseball. And I will admit that they're better than they used to be. Still, they're not. You can't rely on these guys to just come up and be what they were in the minor leagues. There's a big difference between minor leagues and major leagues, and some of the best players do struggle, including, Mike Trout. He didn't do great when he first got called up. And speaking of Mike Trout, he's hit safely in 6 of his first 10 games. The White Sox, let's talk about the White Sox. Let's say this. Heston Kierstad is 5 years older than Jackson Holiday. They need to turn him loose. Give him the bat every day, put him in the, and another thing that we'll talk about too about Heston is that he only qualifies at DH right now. So, I'm looking for an outfielder and he just doesn't qualify at outfield. It's like drafting Henry Davis to be your catcher before the season starts. It just isn't a good idea. Good morning to Tommy Johnson. Welcome aboard. Hello, Leonard Donaldson. Happy birthday to you, by the way. Eddie Heckman, Teresa Heckman, Chris Gallo, Merrill Turd, Tommy Johnson, Triple Play, and several guests, and we appreciate the guests as well. So you're more than welcome to join in the chat room. The White Sox now are undefeated since they signed Tommy Pham or brought him up to the majors. He joined the team yesterday. He got 2 hits. He played center field. And the White Sox ended their 7-game losing streak with a 9-4 win over Tampa Bay's. Where is Daniel Ferrara? Where is White Sox Al? Our 2 resident White Sox insiders. Probably sleeping in after their huge party last night since the White Sox got a win, right? Well, Pham was doing good down in the minors, 5 for 17 with 1 double, 2 stolen bases, 3 strikeouts, and a walk. He's 36 years old, but he should receive regular playing time in the outfield, and he also plays center and right field. He had a 774 OPS with 16 homers and 22 steals last year, so he is a viable fantasy option in most formats. The White Sox racked up 12 hits last night to raise their 2024 team batting average to a whopping 198, still below the Mendoza line, I might add. Good morning to Rotorius. Welcome aboard. Turd says at least Kyle Bradish looks like he's back next week, so that should be good. Ohtani, all right, getting his dues, right? He goes to Toronto Blue Jays, and the fans there booed him as loud as they could. They're doing that because he rejected them during the winter. It's so funny because it's not his fault that the Toronto Blue Jays fans got their hopes up to get Ohtani, because remember that flight that was some secret flight from a private airport in LA to Toronto, and everybody thought Ohtani was on it? It's not his fault that the media went crazy about that. But anyway, they decided they were going to boo Ohtani, and then Ohtani turns around and hits a home run in his first at bat. Ohtani already has 22 extra base hits this season. That's 7 more extra base hits than any other player. Willie Upshaw turned 67 today. Happy birthday, Willie Upshaw, from our boy Chris from Cambridge, who likes to let us know whose birthday it is. Merrill Hartson says Tommy is so popular that he has his own fam club. Good one, Merrill. Always doing those. All right. Ohtani hitting nukes. Now, Julio Rodriguez, if you didn't know better, you would think that Julio Rodriguez was doing horrible. Well, he's turned it on. In the last 9 games, he's batting .410 with a .439 on-base percentage. He now has a season average of .284 with 1 home run, 10 RBIs, 11 runs scored, and 7 stolen bases. Look, he got off to a slow start, but he's already crushing it, okay? 7 stolen bases. His power took a second, but that's the thing. Julio, down by the schoolyard, Rodriguez is going to be just fine. Now, what about Shota Imanaga? And I would like to remind everybody, because everybody in this chat room knows I said it. Imanaga, what's up, dude? Better than Yamamoto. So far, he's 4-0. He earned the win yesterday over the Red Sox. 1 run, 5 hits, 1 walk, 6 1/3 innings. He struck out 7. Boston did score 1 run on a Tyler O'Neill solo homer in the 4th inning, but Imanaga has yet to allow more than 2 earned runs in a start, and his ERA is .98. His whip is .80. 28 strikeouts and only 3 walks again across 5 starts this year, 27 2/3 innings, and the Cubbies have won all 5 of his starts. All right, let's go. 128 swings at Shoto Imanaga's fastball by big league hitters this year have only produced one home run. And since earned runs became official in 1913, the only players to have a 4-0 team record, 20 or more strikeouts, and a sub-1 ERA through their first 4 career MLB games are Bob Ferris in 1945 and Shoto Imanaga this season. Now, everybody in the chat room knows that when I find something good on X, I like to share with you what I find. There's a Statline, okay, the handle is Statline Scout. It's called Scout the Statline. It's a website that you could go to, scoutthestatline.com, if you're interested in youngsters. There's one guy that writes for this website that I follow on X, and he's very good. And you know I like to share with you when I find very good information out there. So this guy's handle at X is at DOC. No, let me just say what it is. At Doc Holliday Dyna. DOCHOLLIDAYDYNA. Doc's Dynasty Stash is his name. Now, he talks a lot about these youngsters, and obviously he's a dynasty guy. So, for fantasy people, this mostly pertains to dynasty leagues, obviously. But he's always talking about these youngsters that are doing well, and I give him a lot of credit. So I just want you guys to know that there's a great scoutthestatline.com website that you could go find his work, but he also posts stuff for free on X. He talked about, a couple days ago, he talked about Javi Baez. Baez is actually stealing bases, so I know that we talk a lot about how Javi Baez is just a nightmare for fantasy managers. His on-base percentage is still bad, but if you're not playing in an on-base percentage league and your league is deep, he does steal bases, okay? Doc's Dynasty Stash also talks about Braves' Owen Murphy, a first-round pedigree in such a great organization, the Braves. His numbers to start the season down at high A in 24 innings, 37 strikeouts, 1.13 ERA, and a .63 whip. This is a stash for Dynasty Leagues. Owen Murphy, a 20-year-old pitcher at high A Atlanta Braves. Another guy to put on your dynasty radar is Jonah Tong of the Mets. This guy, last year, 17 K per 9, 17 strikeouts per 9 innings, but also had a lot of trouble with walks. So his 9.2 walks per 9 innings last year was not great. Obviously, this kid is only 20 years old. He's at single A right now, but so far this year, it looks like he's really worked hard to get his command better. His walk rate is all the way down to 2.4 walks per 9 innings through 18 innings so far this season. Another guy to look at, Tyler Black. A .430 on-base percentage with 3 home runs and 3 stolen bases, but not a lot of people are looking at this guy. He's at AAA. He's 23 years old. He's more ready to come up than these other guys that I've talked about so far. And this was just a few days ago, but he had hit his 3rd home run in the past 6 games. He's batting .338 on the season. Now, he plays, so far this year, he's played all 14 games at first base, 1 game at third base. Last year, he played 16 games at first base and 97 games at third base. So this guy is going to come up qualified at first and third base, and it looks like they're targeting him to play first base because that's where they have him right now at AAA. Now, Jake Bauers plays first base right now, but how good is Bauers? I don't know. This is what we know about Tyler Black. 23-year-old third base and first baseman, right? He's batting let's see, his batting average. His batting average is really good. You see, this is the thing. His batting average is great. If you look at his numbers for this season, they're great. He's at AAA. He's worked his way up through the minors. He's 23 years old. The Brewers don't really have a lot of room for him, but like I said, he could play first base or third base. Now, the rest of season projections from RotoWire have him batting .239, which is a huge difference between what he's doing at the minors and what they're predicting him to do at the majors. None of this is set in stone. It's just a projection, so you don't really know. But on April 22nd, the latest news on Tyler Black is that he has gone 12 for 30 with 2 triples, 2 home runs, 9 RBIs, 2 steals, and 5 walks, and only 3 strikeouts over his last 7 games with AAA. Now, he posted just a 684 OPS over his first 12 appearances of the season, but thanks to his hot streak, now his OPS is 902. And one other thing about Tyler Black, don't go crazy on this guy. You can't pick him up thinking that he's going to be called up immediately. He is not on the 40-man rosters, okay? And the Brewers seem to be getting decent production at the corner infield spots. However, he does remain one of Milwaukee's better prospects. He's got a 928 OPS since reaching the AAA level in August of 2023. So, the fact that he's not on the 40-man, I don't know how much that matters on how, but he's one injury away from getting a call-up, or he's going to force his way onto this team. So these are just some dynasty guys to stash.
Samantha's listening. Eddie Heckman.
Samantha, good morning. We love when Eddie brings his grandchildren. It is just wonderful. We always hear about all of the accomplishments that you're making. So keep up the great work, Samantha. And keep coming back to visit us. Dennis Timko, great to see you. Mason Miller, the guy who's about to throw his arm off. April of 2024, 11 and a third innings pitched, 4 hits, 3 walks, no runs allowed, 22 strikeouts, and 7 saves. Enjoy it while it lasts. Tick-tock, tick-tock. That's what I'm saying. He is going to throw his arm out, okay? Joey Gallo, 1 single, 40 strikeouts. Gallo has a higher WAR than Freddie Freeman. Okay? Good grief. That means Freeman is doing thumbs down. Where is Danny? Did he go back to sleep? Where's my pesky Dodgers fan? Okay? All right, let me have a sip. They talk about Puig getting blacklisted in the chat room, and I have to say Puig is doing better than ever. He's helping his teams down in, I don't know if he's playing in the Dominican, the Mexico League. I can't remember where he's playing, but he's doing great down there. And I'll tell you what, he's got a wonderful agent that looks out for him. And I'll tell you what, he's definitely, the media hates him. So you're working at a disadvantage when the media hates you, but his agent has been excellent in setting the media straight because they don't like Puig, so they basically try to harp on him everything he does. I just can't stand these media vultures. The St. Louis Cardinals have won 12 games so far this season, and Ryan Helsley has pitched in all of them. Helsley having a hell of a year, right? Did you like that, Leonard?
Yes.
Helsley having a hell of a year?
Yes.
All right. Mitch Hartson says he's so happy he paid $55 for Acuna. Great to see you, Mitchell. Let's check the chat room again. Stardog is here. Great to see you. Data Premier. Dennis Timko, say hello to our favorite Aiden. He's probably at piano lesson, but what a great kid you got. Okay, those seem to be the new guys. Will Smith is the second Dodgers catcher with consecutive 4-hit games since at least 1901. He joins 1951 Roy Campanella. Ellie De La Cruz now has 7 home runs and 15 stolen bases in April. He's the 6th player with at least 7 home runs and 15 stolen bases in a calendar month since at least 1901. Oh, Ellie, I'm sorry. Everybody all walking around going, you're so stupid for doubting Ellie. No, you're not stupid for doubting Ellie. He had horrible plate discipline last year. He was being moved down the lineup all the way down to the bottom. He was lucky he was even still in the lineup by the end of the season. So anybody that questioned Ellie De La Cruz breakout season was in their right mind. Now, am I happy that he's doing so good? Of course. I actually do have him in a league. And I think he's one of the most exciting players in baseball. But, you know, these people with their bragging all over and calling out other people for questioning Ellie De La Cruz's draft position are just a bunch of jackasses. And by the way, it's the first month of the season. We'll see in August if Ellie De La Cruz is still doing what he's doing right now, because in case you forgot, he did this last year when he first came up too. So we'll see how it works out. And I'm not rooting against Ellie. I'm just a rational, common sense-led person here. All right. Kyle Schwarber hit his 100th home run with the Phillies in his 342nd game. He is the second fastest to 100 home runs in Phillies franchise history. I want to know in the chat room, we will have Genius of the Day now. Who was the fastest to 100 home runs in Phillies franchise history? Kyle Schwarber is number 2. I'll give you some time to answer that because I know you're a little bit back. Samantha jumped for joy. I love it. That's great. Of course, the Heckmans are some of our favorite people. I know her name is not Heckman, but anyway. Samantha, thanks for listening and keep up the hard work. You're doing great. Oakland is the first team in MLB history to homer in 8 straight games. They homered in 8 straight games and they haven't scored more than 3 runs in any of them. All right, we got some guesses. That is wrong. Schmidt is not the answer. Leonard Donaldson, the birthday boy. He guessed it right. Ryan Howard. He is the quickest to 100 home runs in Phillies franchise history. He did it in 325 games. It took Kyle Schwarber 342 games. Eddie says Dick Allen. We'll have more trivia. Okay, in a minute. Now.
Don't forget that Zach Gallen came out of the game.
Zach Gallen is in all 4 of my money leagues, and I refuse to discuss it.
It's at the beginning of your notes.
I'm not going to talk about it.
Okay.
He was pulled out of the game yesterday. One good thing we know about Gallen is that he's not out there throwing the ball 100 miles an hour, so hopefully it was just precautionary. I swear it's like avoiding minefields this year with injuries. And we'll talk about Jesus Luzardo and some other things when we talk about some players to pick up. Verdugo is 18 for 52, batting .346 in his last 17 games. So Verdugo. What?
White Sox Al.
Good morning to White Sox Al. Hey, I missed you earlier, but I will say this again. For the White Sox fan out there, the one White Sox fan, they snapped their losing streak and they remain undefeated with Tommy Pham in their outfield. I know it was only one game, but it's worth it. For my White Sox fans, you deserve some love too. All right, Verdugo. I'll tell you what, Verdugo was never going to make it in the Red Sox, okay, because he was part of the trade for Mookie Betts. He was sent to Boston in exchange for Mookie Betts to the Dodgers, and I'll tell you what, the fans never got over that. He never stood a chance as far as being fan favorite. Now with the Yankees, he's just crushing it. He's doing great. The fans like him, and Verdugo is building a new life with the Yankees. The Blue Jays starter Chris Bassett, I saw this being talked about in the chat room already. Bassett faced 19 Dodgers batters. 11 of them reached base. 9 hits, 2 walks. 7 Dodgers scored and stole 3 bases against him. So Chris Bassett not having a great day. Now, Brewers lefty Wade Miley needs repair on the ulnar collateral ligament, which means Tommy John surgery. and he will spend the next 10 to 12 months rehabbing from that surgery before deciding if he will continue his career. He did mention that he wants to continue his career, so he pretty much stomped that idea of retirement early. We'll talk about the fact that the Brewers' depth chart for pitchers, the pitching rotation, has several injuries, including now Wade Miley, Brandon Woodruff, DL Hall, Jacob Junis. So I noticed somebody that is probably not owned in many leagues, which is Tobias Myers. He's a 25-year-old starting pitcher for the Brewers. He's only pitched 5 innings, 1 outing so far this season, but he has a 1.80 ERA, 4 strikeouts in 5 innings, but also 4 hits allowed. The rest of season projections by RotoWire have him with an ERA over 5 and a WHIP over 1.5, which is just horrible, but he's done so far so good. He's spent time at every level in the minors, including multiple stints at AAA, AA, and he is up for the long haul, but the fact is there's nobody else, so he's staying in the rotation until one of these guys comes back from the injured list. You have Freddie Peralta, Colin Ray, Joe Ross, Tobias Myers. That's only 4 pitchers. They're supposed to have 5 in a rotation, so I don't know what they're going to do. Tobias Myers is probably not owned in many leagues. He did have a good outing in his first start. He made it through 5 innings, which is good, and his ERA is 1.80 with a 1 WHIP. But do fear the fact that he hasn't shown a lot of, the formula isn't on his side, and he hasn't really done that great. Kenny Flamia, Mason Miller, number 1 reliever until he throws his arm out. Lenny wants credit for Brandon Marsh. Chris from Cambridge brings up the fact that Chris Bassett throws many breaking balls. Okay, too many breaking balls for Chris Bassett. The Padres activated Macho Man Manny from the paternity list, and more notably, he was in the lineup at third base for the first time this season. Okay, I could only... Who?
Laura.
Good morning to Laura and Mary. Great to see you. Now, Anthony Rendon is going to get so much crap for this, okay, because it just sounds horrible. But testing did reveal that he's got a partial tear in his left hamstring, and there's no timetable for his return. He indicated himself that he anticipates an extended absence. It's the 4th consecutive season in which he has suffered a significant injury, and he doesn't seem too annoyed about it because he gets paid anyway. But don't feel bad for the team. They have insurance that pays for these injured players if they spend too much time out. All right. Seattle starting pitchers have allowed a total of 15 earned runs in their last 14 starts. That's wonderful. I'm looking at the Seattle Mariners rotation, and I see that Brian Wu is on the injured list. So Emerson Hancock is the guy that might be available to pick up. He yielded a run on 2 hits and 2 walks over 6 innings yesterday. He struck out 4, and he got the win over Arizona. He turned in 5 scoreless innings before Kevin Newman hit a solo home run in the 6th innings and put the Diamondbacks on the board. But this guy Hancock, Emerson Hancock, 24-year-old, right, now has 3 consecutive quality starts, and he's allowed just 4 earned runs over 18 innings. His season ERA is 5.06 through 26 and 2/3 innings, but he's doing good as of late, and he's going to go under the wire because, as I mentioned, his ERA is 5.06, and people are going to overlook it. But 3 quality starts in a row. I will say this, too. He's not great for the formula. He doesn't induce enough ground balls so far this season. Now, last season, he had a 47.5 ground ball rate, while this year he's only looking at 34.9% ground balls, which doesn't help you for the formula, and he also doesn't strike out enough batters. He has 19 strikeouts in 26 and 2/3 innings. All right, so still, Emerson Hancock, great ballpark in Seattle. Okay, so if you're desperate, you might look at him.
Yeah.
Good morning to Big Al. Great to see you. Mitchell Parker, Washington Nationals, 24-year-old starting pitcher. He's got a 1.5 ERA on the season. He debuted April 15th. He held the Dodgers to 2 runs on 4 hits and got a win. That was his major league debut. And then he went and shut out the Astros on April 21st, and he threw 7 innings and struck out 8. He only needed 73 pitches to get through 7 innings. He allowed 3 singles and only 1 base runner to reach second base. Mitchell Parker, he's allowed 2 runs on 7 hits with no walks and 12 strikeouts over 12 innings in his first 2 career starts. And I will remind you, they were against the Dodgers and the Astros. Okay? There's no chance this guy gets removed from the rotation because Josiah Gray is injured, and these 2 excellent outings to start his major league career. Mitchell Parker, 24-year-old starting pitchers for the Nationals. I believe he's going to pitch today. So check it out. Another guy to look at for FAAB Targets this week, Bryce Elder, Atlanta Braves. You always want to take this guy, right? He is owned in about half leagues probably, but he's the number 5 starter for the Braves, which in itself is wonderful. On April 22nd, he threw 6 2/3 shutout innings, but of course it was against the Miami Marlins, who is a train wreck, and he did allow 8 hits. So, yes, he got lucky that they were 6 2/3 shutout innings because the Marlins were hitting him. Now, Elder is taking Spencer Strider's spot in the rotation. I won't say that. He's number 5, so he did not take Spencer Strider's spot, which would be the number 1 in the rotation. Bryce Elder is the number 5 in the rotation. All right. Cleveland, he will pitch against Cleveland either today or tomorrow. So last year, Elder was pretty good. 3.81 ERA, a 1.28 whip, and 128 strikeouts and 63 walks in 174 2/3 innings. So this guy is not going to be on an innings limit. He pitches for one of the best teams in baseball, no doubt about it. And he is definitely the number 1 guy I would tell you to go pick up. If you're targeting pitchers, these aren't in order by, best to worst. It's just based on needs. But Bryce Elder, definitely before Mitchell Parker or Emerson Hancock, who is last in the rankings of who to pick up first. We also have Landon Knack, the Dodgers, 26-year-old starting pitcher. Now, last year, he's a rookie. Last year, he combined 22 starts between AA and AAA. He had a 2.51 ERA and 99 strikeouts in 100 innings pitched. He made his debut on April 24th, 2 runs allowed, 3 hits in 6 innings. Now, the Dodgers' depth chart for their rotation is deep, although I will admit they have so many injuries. I mean, Ohtani's not pitching. Gonsolin, Dustin May, Clayton Kershaw, Emmett Sheehan, Bobby Miller, and Walker Buehler are all out. Now, the thing about Landon Knack, everybody's going to be like, oh, well, anybody that pitches for the Dodgers is a good pickup, right? So manager Dave Roberts did say yesterday that Buehler is coming back. He will make another rehab start with AAA Oklahoma City on Tuesday, and then he will potentially join the Dodgers. This guy has taken 2 years to come back from his second Tommy John surgery, so you never know, but he's getting close, which is why I bring up Walker Buehler, because Landon Knack, he's going to potentially lose his spot in the rotation as soon as one of these guys comes back. Now, Buehler's performance in his rehab outings have not been great. A 4.86 ERA, a 1.68 whip, and 16 strikeouts to 9 walks over 16 2/3 innings. And also, he's been spending so much time at AAA, He's about to take over the team lead in games started for AAA Oklahoma City. He'll make his 5th rehab start for them on Tuesday, and then we'll see if he could join the Dodgers. They're saying potentially the following week. So as good as London Knack is for you Dodgers fans, watch out because Walker Buehler is coming back. Thoughts on Albert Suarez. I did not talk about Albert Suarez. I haven't looked at him, so I don't have many thoughts on him. But Turd does, of course. Albert Suarez throws a silly number of fastballs. He went over 50 straight in his last start. Lots of fastballs. And thank you to Turd for sharing your knowledge with us. We just love this chat room. If you have a question, it's wonderful. Christian Scott, I talk about every week because this kid is going to come up soon. His stats aren't like that exciting. I mean, they're good, okay? They're good at AAA. This is his first chance at AAA. He's pitched 20 and 2/3 innings, only 11 hits allowed, and 34 Ks. Let me repeat, 34 Ks in 20 and 2/3 innings. His ERA is 3.48, and his WHIP is .74. Now, why do I keep bringing this guy up? Well, Tyler McGill still on the injured list. Kodai Senga on the injured list. David Peterson on the injured list. And this guy, he just needs a spot, but he will probably get the call-up sooner than later. Over the course of 2022 and 2023, he pitched across 3 levels. So, like I said, 2024, this year, is the first taste of AAA that he's received. But across 3 levels between 2022 and 2023, he started 28 games, 149 and a third innings pitched, a 3.31 ERA, a 2.54 FIP, okay, 30.5% strikeout rate, and a 5.8% walk rate. Now, through 4 starts this season at AAA, it's 44.2% strikeouts and only 5% walk rate. And for this season, he has a 65.8% strike percentage, while the AAA average is 61.8%. He throws more strikes than any other pitcher by doing 2 things. He pounds the strike zone, and he knows when to throw each pitch. But I'll tell you what, he is not one of those hard throwers about to throw his arm out. He throws his 4-seam fastball on average between 93 and 95 miles an hour. And you know how I feel about these soft tossers, but he does max out at 97. His sweeper goes 82 to 84 miles an hour. His slider is 86 and 87 miles an hour. And his changeup is 85 to 87 miles an hour. And I'll tell you what, when you have 4 good pitches like that, and you know when to throw each pitch, and you don't try to throw 100 miles an hour, I mean, this guy, I'm too excited. Christian Scott. Now, mind you, I am a Mets homer. I do love to root for the Mets. So, okay, I'm a little bit biased. But this kid is too exciting, and I'm going to talk about him every week until he gets called up, all right? Now, let me have a sip of coffee. All right, Luzardo, placed on the injured list, undergoing testing because he has elbow tightness. Okay, look at, now we have Max Meyer to talk about, right? I know you guys are all excited about Max Meyer, but here's the deal, okay? Just before the Luzardo injury, it was known that Meyer was going to go down to AAA and pitch once a week. And he was going to be limited to 3-inning outings because this guy only threw, he didn't pitch at all last year. And he threw 67 innings in 2022 across all the levels. So combined, This is why they have this kid on a restricted workload. He's already had the Tommy John, which is why he didn't pitch last year at all. Now, he's super exciting for fantasy managers because he's 25 years old. He's ready to handle big league hitters. He posted a 2.12 ERA, a .82 whip, 14 strikeouts and 3 walks through 3 starts, which included 17 innings for the Marlins. So he got off to a great start, and everybody is super high on this guy. The problem is, you can't qualify for a win in fantasy unless you're throwing 5 innings. This kid is not going to throw 5 innings, but the conversation around Max Meyer, M-E-Y-E-R, is back on the table because of Jesus Luzardo's injuries. Now, the rotation is Luzardo injured, Braxton Garrett injured, Sandy Alcantara injured, Yuri Perez injured. They're working right now with Trevor Rogers, Edward Cabrera, and Ryan Weathers. That's it. So yes, I understand why everybody is talking about Max Meyer again. But this kid is going to be so restricted in order to save his arm. I mean, they were hoping to keep him down in the minors to pitch once a week with 3-inning outings until the second half of the season so that they could use him in the second half. Now, all their dreams have been all but shattered at this point. The Marlins are just horrible so far, and they haven't got off to a good start. But you never know. Now, the problem is they're working with 3 starting pitchers in their rotation. Now, you bring Max Meyer up, fantasy managers beware. Yes, he's great, he's exciting, but he is not going to earn you any wins, and you'll be lucky if he throws more than 3 innings an outing. And by the way, part of the categories in fantasy is strikeouts, and this guy cannot rack up that many strikeouts no matter how good of a strikeout percentage he has if he's only throwing 3 innings at a time. You might as well go find Colin Posh and get him, because he'll get some wins and strikeouts and all that good stuff. But do not spend or overspend on Max Meyer. Turd, do you agree with me on that? Turd is a big fan of these youngsters, and he likes these guys that throw hard. I saw him talking about Max Meyer already, but I didn't see what he said. What does Craig Mish think? Craig Mish is throwing up the white flag on Twitter, on X. He's great. He says it like it is, and the Marlins are just not doing good. He's very disappointed. That's for darn sure. What about Sixto Sanchez? You remember him? Yes, it's being brought up in the chat room. I really forgot all about Sixto Sanchez. A few years ago, I drafted him and kept him in my dynasty for 3 straight years. And then I finally said, forget Sixto Sanchez. He's such a waste of a spot on my roster. Now, how is Sixto doing? Does he have a chance to come and pitch for the Miami Marlins finally, or what? We're talking about a couple of closers here, and I know that this one is probably already taken in most leagues. It's Hector Neris, who's replaced Albert Alzolay. I know there's a lot of talk about Mark Leiter taking over this closer job too, because everybody's frankly, Hector Neris is old. He's vanilla. He's not exciting, but he gets the job done as the closer, and he registered 2 saves in his 2 appearances right after Alzolay got taken out of the closer's role. He was tagged for a leadoff homer by Altuve, but then he sat down Bregman, Yordan Alvarez, and Kyle Tucker in order. He had 28 saves in 2019, but it's hard to project that he'll keep the 9th inning job for the rest of the season, but he has it for now. So Hector Neris, and I know there's not a lot of variety here in the closers. I know Dennis Timko wanted me to do some closer talk, but there's just not that many right now that are new closers. Or that you can rely on for saves at this point. James MacArthur, though, if he's not taken, which I think he is, the Kansas City Royals are doing good. They're 15-10. They're good for second place in the AL Central. They're 11th in the majors in runs scored with 117, and they are giving this James MacArthur the chance to get plenty of saves at this point. Sorry, Dennis. I knew this. I tried to find some more closers. I'll actually post at the end of this the list of closers and how secure their jobs are. Unless you also get RotoWire, I don't need to post it, but it's really helpful. And I'll put that up immediately after the show so you can get some ideas. Catcher, we're talking Patrick Bailey, the San Francisco Giants. He went 1 for 4 with a walk-off 3-run home run in a 3-0 win against the Pirates. He is 24 years old. He hit only 7 home runs in 97 games as a rookie last season, but he has 3 home runs through 20 games, a .297 batting average, a .365 on-base percentage, 5 doubles, and 10 RBIs in addition to those home runs. He's sharing the job with Tom Murphy, but he is listed as the starting catcher. Now, he's the 3rd player in Giants history with 2 walk-off home runs within his first 10 career home runs. He's the first catcher in MLB history to turn a double play, catch a shutout, and hit a walk-off home run all in the same game. Patrick Bailey, if you need a catcher. Mark Conha, 35-year-old outfielder. We've already talked about him, if not more than once. His last 13 starts, he's batted no lower than 3rd in the lineup. He already has 5 home runs, a stolen base, 14 RBIs, and 12 runs scored. He played 18 games at first base and 88 games in the outfield last year. Currently, this year, he's played 4 games at first base and 14 in the outfield. So, depending on your league, makes it position eligibility, either just outfield or first and outfield. For second base, we have Luis Garcia, not Washington Nationals, batting .308 with 1 home run and 5 stolen bases. It's interesting because he's not a power guy, he's a speed guy, but he also has 10 RBIs, and 4 runs scored. He hits either 4th or 5th in the lineup in 7 of his last 8 games, and he's also hit in 7 of those 8 games. So Luis Garcia could help you out at second base. Also, we have Elvis Martinez, Toronto Blue Jays, for a 3rd baseman to target. He is a minor leaguer. He may be a pretty good stash for leagues that allow that sort of thing, but his recent performance in the minors is opening eyes, okay? He's got a .307 batting average, an OPS of 1.172, 7 home runs, 22 RBIs in 22 games so far. Let me repeat this. 22 games, 23 runs, 7 home runs, 22 RBIs, and he's not a stolen base guy. Now the reason that I even bring him up, because he is blocked, right? He plays third base. Isaiah Kiner Falefa is currently the Washington Nationals' starting third baseman. However, I'd like to bring up the fact that Kiner Falefa plays all 3 outfield positions, and one of those outfielders is day-to-day right now. So, the next guy to get the call-up could move Isaiah Kiner Falefa into the outfield as he plays all 3 positions and give this guy a chance. Great stash for Elvis Martinez, Toronto Blue Jays third baseman. A shortstop to look at is Tyler Freeman, 24-year-old Cleveland Guardians. He qualifies at multiple positions. So far in the minors this year, he's played at first and outfield, but last year he qualifies at first base and outfield. Wait, this is Heston Kierstad. What am I talking about? Tyler Freeman. Let's go back to Tyler Freeman. I'm sorry, I got him confused with Heston. Anyway, Tyler Freeman, 24-year-old third baseman, also plays shortstop. He's a Cleveland Guardian. He's got 3 home runs and 3 stolen bases on the season with 12 RBIs and 14 runs scored. His batting average isn't great. It's .222. But he had a recent 5-game streak. He went 7 for 19 with 2 home runs, 5 RBIs, and 7 runs scored. He also has a stolen base. He qualifies at 3 infield positions and the outfield. So Tyler Freeman is a godsend for position eligibility. Now we move on to Heston Kierstad. He's the guy that has played 8 games at first base and 11 games at outfield in the minors this season, but he enters the majors. He only qualifies at DH. That's because last year he made his major league debut and he only played in the outfield 4 times. So he is only qualified as a DH. That harms his value, in my opinion, big time. Now, as I mentioned earlier, I was prepared to spend a ton on Heston Kierstad. This guy has been a marvel down in the minors, right? He got called up after, in 21 games and 102 plate appearances, he had 25 runs scored, 30 RBIs, 10 home runs, a stolen base, and a .349 batting average. So far, he is not doing it, and you have to wonder, number one, are they going to play him every day? He sat out against a lefty on Wednesday, and he's batting at the bottom of the order. That's okay, but to be honest, as Turd mentioned earlier, there just may not be enough at-bats to keep this guy in the majors. They sat him against a lefty, which is not a good thing. He's 0 for 4 with 3 strikeouts and zeros all across the board so far. Now, I think what will happen is this weekend is going to determine his FAAB price. I'm still going to bid a few bucks on him, but honestly, in that same league, you got Weiler Abreu is available, and even though Weiler Abreu does not hit against lefties, he's on the strong side of a platoon, and you know what? If a batter can't hit lefties and he hits righties great, then I'm good with him sitting on the bench against lefties. In the leagues at NFBC, you can move your hitters on Mondays and Fridays, so you get to make those changes depending on who is going to face your batter. Now, if Weiler happens to be facing a couple lefties, then I'll sit Weiler because he probably won't. I call him Weiler. I think his pronunciation is Willier, but who the heck really cares, right? This is about winning your fantasy league, all right? So, what I'm saying is he sat against a righty yesterday, according to Turd. I didn't come up with that. That was from our resident Texas Rangers insider. Okay? Now, that's it. Heston Kierstad is not hitting against lefties, and he's also sitting now against righties. Jackson Holliday was banished to the AAA already. The Baltimore Orioles are not going to keep this guy up if he isn't going to hit because he needs this seasoning, all right? He needs to be playing every day. Don't spend all your FAAB on Heston Kierstad, but as I mentioned, this guy is just crushing it in the minors. Doesn't mean he's going to do it in the majors, all right? My last player at 9:51 a.m. I do such a good job with my timing, okay? Brian De La Cruz for the Marlins. I drafted him. He's probably not available, but just in case he is, he homered last week in 3 of the 4 games that he played. He has become a fixture in the number 2 spot in the Miami Marlins lineup. 5 home runs and 14 RBIs in 25 games so far for the Marlins. Yeah, Kierstad only has like 5 at-bats. It's crazy that they would call him up and then bench him. No wonder he's not hitting, right? I mean, you got to give the guy some consistency. So it's just it's going to be an interesting dynamic to see what people spend on Heston Kierstad. He's obviously been just great down in the minors, but they're not playing him, which is a travesty. Because if they're not going to play you, they need to send you back down and not mess around, right, Eddie? Eddie knows. He's our resident Orioles insider from the chat room. Yes, De La Cruz has a decent floor, and Leonard Donaldson has him in a few leagues. Now, speaking of phenoms, don't Joe Madden your prospects, right? Thanks, everybody, for joining me today. I wish I had more, but it's just too exhausting. Just kidding. Big Al on the prowl. Chris from Cambridge. Chris Gallo. Data Premier. Eddie Heckman. Kenny Flamia. King Hap. Boom. The Hapster is here. And don't forget to listen in on Wednesday nights for the Happy Hour Social Club at 7:30 p.m. You can catch it right here at LennyMelnickFantasySports.com/live, or you can listen on the Twitch app. Their handle is at Happy Hour SC. Great group of people over there to engage with. And, Hap's been doing some extra shows lately, and I think our great friend George Hubsman has been on. Also does some great shows on Tuesdays and Thursdays. But you can follow the Happy Hour Social Club on Facebook, probably X, guaranteed. You can follow them everywhere. Go find them on Twitch. That's a great show. They talk about all the sports, not just baseball. But you can find baseball here 7 days a week at 9 a.m. Tomorrow we will do Lady and the Legend. Leonard Donaldson, happiest birthday to you. Marilyn Mitchell, Rotorius, SM King Turd, White Sox Out, Triple Play. We love you all. And Laura, who I don't see in there, but she was here, and Mary.